Yeah, it was me, and I was supportive for his mom as well. And one time he texted me like, "I couldn't do this without you," and I was like, "Well, I couldn't help you if you weren't open up like you did.
Definitely.
So we did it together, and I'm thankfully you did." And it was a lovely experience.
Okay, perfect. So welcome to Sphera Connected Cast. I'm your host Christian, and today we're here with Julie van Bennekom. How are you doing?
I'm fine, fine. Just a bit tired. I had a long drive before to Belgium for the European Cup from women under 19. So I was in the car for 18 hours. So I'm a
Wow.
bit tired.
No, that's good. No, we're very happy to have you, of course, here. So today we'll be talking about a couple of topics. So about youth football, the importance of having a player care officer, and your previous role as a player care officer at Buitenveldert. But let's go back in time. Who is Julie van Bennekom?
Well, at this time, I'm trying to figure out who I am. But in the core, I'm always trying to stay with my core values, and I'm trying to figure out who I am. But yeah, I'm always trying to be authentic, be myself. Yeah, just figuring out right now who I am because I quit football, and football was a big, yeah, part of my identity since I was a child. And yeah, now I stopped. I quit at Buitenveldert, but I quit with everything. So I'm trying to figure out who I am right now without it.
Wow, because I actually know you from the football world, and now that you, for example, are saying this, is kind of a little bit of blow.
Yeah.
But you started, let's say, for your love of sports, right? So you've
Yeah.
been working, or you worked as a player care officer, and also in the football world for about 7 to 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, you were playing hockey
Yeah.
at a high level. And you would expect if you're playing hockey at a high level, you would like to continue in the hockey industry,
Mm-hmm.
but you decided to work in football.
Yeah.
Is there a specific reason why you got into football?
Well, when I was a child, I think I was like 4 or 5 years old. I liked football from my dad, and my dad wanted a son, but he got two daughters, so he was lucky that one of them loves football. And I was born close to Ajax Amsterdam, so I supported the club since I was young. And when I was young, I was always making how do you say that? I always wanted to be a journalist,
Yeah.
so I collect everything from football. When you stepped into my room, there it was, it was full of posters and photos from football players, and I knew everything. I really knew everything, where they were born, how much children they had.
Wow.
Just yeah. So I really loved football, but back then there weren't many girls teams for football. So I started to play hockey just in my village in Oude Kerk aan de Amstel.
Okay.
And I was pretty good at it. So when I got to know that I was good at it, I was trying to figure out is okay, where's my ceiling? So what can I do? Yeah, trying to be my best and to get everything out of it. So that's when I started to play hockey first in the village and then at Amsterdam Hockey Club, and that was a real high level. I compare it with Ajax Amsterdam,
Okay.
and I transferred to school in Amsterdam Zuidoost, and there I was in a classroom with Ajax players, and we were doing sports on a high level, but I experienced pressure, competition, and I saw that with the Ajax players as well. It was similar. So after that, I start studying. I quit hockey because I couldn't deal with the pressure anymore, and I kind of lost myself. When I was younger, I was like, okay, I don't like it anymore. And well, first hockey and football were my identity. I think
Yeah.
sports was my identity. That's why I'm trying to figure out what am I without sports. So first I quit with hockey, and now I quit with football. But I studied fashion, so
Yeah.
really something else. And then after that, I was like, okay, I want to work with people. I want to work with youth, and that's when I started to study psychology again. And I did it part time. And a part of the study was that you have to work in an environment where you can support, or where you can, how do you say that? Praktijkervaring.
Yeah, like do
Get some work
like do an
experience.
internship,
Yeah,
for
internship
example.
sort of. Yeah,
Yeah.
but and then I wanted to do in football because, well, hockey, I like it, but I love football, and that was a more of sort of yeah. How do you say that?
A calling,
Yeah,
probably.
a calling. Yeah, a purpose, a calling. So that's when I start to look around. What can I do in football? And one of my friends, he was trainer at Buitenveldert, and I asked him like, can I do something there? And he says, yeah, okay, that's fine. Let me ask the head of coaching,
Yeah.
and he said, I don't know what you are going to do, but it's fine for me. So then I start to work with the under 11s from Buitenveldert, and they played on the highest level as they could do.
Yeah.
So that was in 2016.
Okay, so you started then at under 11, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I understood from your side that you were supporting also the other age categories, right?
Yeah, after. Yeah,
After.
after.
So there was a point that you started at under 11, then you were supporting under 13, under 15, and what I would like to know is what is the main difference, like, or where do you think it was more needed to have the player care officer? Because of course, when you are playing in under 9 or under 11, you're still very young. Football is more like a hobby. When you start getting older, it becomes like more like there's competition, and if you take it really serious, you want to become a pro. Let's say you have to be very disciplined. Let's say so. There's probably one age group where it's more, I mean, it's probably everywhere needed, but where you saw that there were more issues with players, right?
Yeah.
Could you maybe say
Yeah,
where you...
I can also explain why I started at 11. Well, first of all, my friend was coaching the under 11, so that was easy.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, I love football and I know the football, but the professional league, but I don't know anything about the amateur football.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I want to get some experience. And with the under 11, the talents are more on the radar of the scouting system. So in my age group, I think like 7 or 8 boys did some trials at professional clubs like Ajax, AZ, Feyenoord, Utrecht. So I experienced that age group for a year. Then after, I went to the under 13, and I want to experience that age group. And after that, I went to the under 14, under 17, because I wanted to experience under 17 and under 14. And after that, I did under 15 and under 19. So I had a big range of players. And when I did under 15, under 19, I also did under 10. So I was like, okay, how can I cope with everything? And which guys do need the most help? Well, when you are with the under 19, you have more contact with the players because they are like 17, 18 years old. But when they are under 10, you have more contact with the parents because the boys are more playful.
Yeah,
I
they're
think
still young.
they're still young, but they know what they want. So it's a different coaching style, or I don't know. I never call myself a therapist, but it's a different style of talking to people.
Yeah.
But I experienced that the players who need it the most are at under 15 because it's an age group where so many things happen. They become big boys.
Yeah.
I think they have hormones that go everywhere, and they're at high school, and they're not little boys anymore, but they're also not grown boys. So I see that they're trying to cope with the environment around them, but that's the most interesting group of players I worked with.
Okay, I know also during that time, also a lot of let's say, footballers back then, what I knew in my age category is where they really decide if they want to continue playing football seriously or if they suddenly just drop and don't want to play anymore. But it's very interesting that you share the specific age group. And now going back to one of the points that you mentioned about, okay, so you knew someone in Buitenveldert under 11, you got an opportunity to, let's say, support as a player care officer, but the coach himself did not actually know what exactly you would do. You know, he knew that probably is going to be positive. You will be able to support, let's say, the players, but he didn't actually know, meaning that probably they didn't really have or like a player care officer before.
No, they didn't have anything. Like the head of coaching said, I don't know what you're going to do, but go ahead. Just you can do whatever you want. And the trainer of the under 11, he knew me. He was my friend, so he trusted me, and he knew that. Okay. Also, he knew I can play football because I was good at the streets, but not on the fields. And he knew that I had a lot of knowledge about football, just the professional. That's why he trusted me, and he used me as someone who he can talk to, like how can I do that, or how can I talk to the parents. And he gave me all of the freedom to do whatever I wanted to do. That was really nice.
So you develop kind of your own way to supporting the team
Yeah.
in their specific needs that they need.
Yeah.
That's very nice. And let's say nowadays, right? So for example, they did not have, let's say, this supportive system to the players. What do you think? What are some important points that you think that clubs need to have in order to be supporting, let's say, these players? First, it starts with having that person, right? Like Buitenveldert had Julie. But are there a couple of other things you would say that will support, let's say, the players on and off the pitch?
Well, before I came here, I really thought about it. Like, okay, what do they actually need? Because there are lots of people. But I think there's one keyword they need. And it can be from anyone. I think they need trust. They need safe space, and they need a sort of stability. And it can come from someone like me, but it also can come from coaches or managers or a head of coaching. It can be from anyone in the club. But I think that are the most important things. And there's in the whole of the football world, and that's the reason why I stopped, because there's a lack of trust, there's a lack of safe space. There's a lack of room to develop, and so players can be whoever they want to be. They're developing. There are young boys who try to figure out who they are, and how to develop as a player. And there comes pressure. There comes pressure from school as well. Maybe something that happened in their own private life. And I think they really need a safe space, because I always say at the football field, they come there as, no one pushes them to go there.
Yeah.
Not maybe some parents push them, but they feel free at the football field. And I always, maybe not in a competition level, but when you go to a field, maybe, I don't know in here, but go to a little field, put there some boys, and they feel free. They play, and they feel happy, they feel joy, and I think that's what they need when they are young. And I think the grown-ups, they make it very difficult for them.
Yeah, so they don't have, let's say, the safe space to talk about, let's say, issues that are happening at home. Maybe because it's a taboo topic, and also because, they see it maybe as like a weakness.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, sometimes, but also a sort of lack of knowledge. I mean, some trainers, they're just good at the field, but maybe they don't understand human enough, and that's then you need a sort of knowledge or of psychology. You don't have to be a psychologist, but some kind of knowledge is, and some people have to reflect on themselves as well. When I worked as a player, I I experienced that I have to reflect on myself. Well, did I see it very good? Did I heard it very good? Did I do something wrong? I think I have an example. I worked with a trainer with the under-19s, and we had a sort of difficult relation, and I was looking for my well, how do you say that? I was really looking to what is my role? I want to talk with you, but I also want to be there for the players. But the players had some difficulties with him, so I didn't know what to do. So at the end of the season, I asked him, well, I feel like I did something wrong, and I think I didn't do enough for you. I did everything for the players, but I didn't do as I felt it. I didn't do enough for you. And he said, yeah, you did. Because I needed more trust and more backup from you. And he was right about that. And I was looking, okay, how can I next year, what can I do better with myself, with my role as a trusting person for the trainer, but also for the player, but also for the parents. That's always what I did. And a lot of reflection on myself.
That's very nice. So these are kind of the difficulties that you will have as a player care officer, let's say supporting, right? The players, because you sometimes have the coaches in between, the parents in between when they're younger. And that was actually one of the questions that I had, but you already explained it perfectly, like why it can be kind of difficult to be there as a player care officer. And then if let's say you have a broad, extensive network in the world of football, let's say players that have played for the highest level in the Netherlands, let's say for Ajax, the biggest teams, and they also look for you for advice, for them to prepare, let's say, to go on trials at these big clubs. How do you prepare these players, or how do you help, let's say, a family of a player that was playing amateur, let's say this year? He did his best very well. He got opportunity to do a trial at Ajax. The level, of course, is got to be way higher. But how would you then prepare them or support them, let's say, in that case? Would you have weekly, let's say, meetings with them or daily meetings with them? Or how do you do it?
Well, it's sort of weekly, and I know when they have trials, and then I talk about it with him or her. And it's very easy. I always say, enjoy, have fun, enjoy and have fun, and everything will be fine. And you will see what will happen. And that's what I say, and I always try to lower the pressure. And with parents, they are more worried most of the time than players. And with them, we have conversation about everything. Everything. About life, about what they can expect, about what they cannot expect.
Yeah, definitely. But let's say some parents are also stressed when, let's say, their child is doing a trial at a very big club. But I also feel like I've seen where parents also have some negative impact, let's say, on the players as well. Let's say, okay, the player went to a trial at PSV. They know if he becomes a professional football player in the future, financially the family will be set. So there will be a negative, kind of pressure on the player that he feels like, oh, I have to make it because that's what my parents want me to do. Have you also seen that in, let's say, with the players that you have worked with?
Not the players I've worked with, but I worked with a player who had the feeling he had to do it, so he can financially secure his parents.
Yeah. It came more from his side.
Yeah, more from his side, because he was worried about his parents, and him worrying so much, he wanted to succeed. That's when he put pressure, and he lost joy in football as well. So I didn't see the parents pressuring people. Maybe I saw it around me, but I didn't see it. I didn't work with them because actually I don't want to work with that kind of people as well, because for me, I want, maybe if you want my advice, we have to work in two ways, and not in one way, me advising and a parent like listening, okay, and then just go left when I say maybe it's better to go right. And we don't work with each other. I think I always say there have to be a match. That's the first question I ask. Do you like me being there, or do you like me having around? Do you want to talk? You can always come to me, but when there's no match, we don't work with each other. And when I feel that a parent is very negative about it, then I'm also like, okay, just do whatever you want. It's your life.
You want to support, but they also have to be on the same path as you.
Yeah, we with each other. We have to be on the same page with each other. And when we are not on the same page, there's no space to work with each other.
Which can affect also the player.
Yeah, of
if
course.
They see that or experience that.
Yeah, because it will be more difficult when I say left and the parents say right, and then there's someone in the middle, and he was like, okay, what do I have to do?
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's a tough one, I would say. And then when we look at, of course, there are pressures. Then there comes like mental health challenges with some of the players in these environments, let's say doing the trial, or even just on the regular team performing every week. Can you share maybe a success story of a young football player or experience that a player was maybe struggling, and with your support, he was able to get over it?
Yeah, I can. There was a boy, he was playing for an amateur team. Before he was playing at a pro league, in the elite team.
Yes.
And then the COVID virus came up, and he was very unhappy at where he was. And then he said, after the break, he said, I don't want to go back. So he was playing for the amateurs again. And then back then, immediately another pro league team came back, and they asked him for trial. And after one trial, he was already inside. So the next year he went to it's a top 3 pro elite club.
Yeah.
So it was like a big challenge for him. And he knew that he was going there next season, but he was struggling with difficulties. And back then his trainer at amateur league, he saw that, and they had some conflicts, and the club wanted to send him away. But then the trainer said, no, don't do that. I'm going to look for help. And then he found me on LinkedIn, and he said, I see that you're working with youth players. Can you help me, or can you help him? And I had a meeting with him and his mother, and there was a match immediately. And then I drove 1 time a week. I drove to his club, and sometimes we talked for 3 hours. And he was so open to me, and he trusted me, and we talked about everything, about football, about life, about his childhood, about his fears, his happiness. We talked about everything. He was very philosophy. He loves philosophy. Yes. So we talked about that. But then he had some difficulties as well during the summer break. And after that, he went to the Pro Elite Club, and there he suffered more difficulties. And it was also still a COVID year. So then there was football, there was no football, there was no football. We had curfew. Yes. So it was a difficult time for him, and he had it mentally very, very tough. But I always stood by his side. We had phone conversations. We had contact on WhatsApp. And, well, the past few months, I saw him a lot, and he's feeling so much better. He's doing great mentally.
He found a person where he could be open.
Yeah.
And that it did not have to be their parents, right?
Yeah.
So it can be, let's say, you in this case.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was me, and I was supportive for his mom as well. And, one time he texted me like, I couldn't do this without you. And I was like, well, I couldn't help you if you weren't open up like you did.
Definitely.
So, we did it together, and thankfully you did. And it was a lovely experience with him.
Beautiful story. I'm 100% sure that you have more of these stories, because I know you're very loved in the football community, especially when I went to one of the games and I saw how the parents are greeting you and the players as well. So that's amazing. And of course, SC Buitenveldert really lost a very important asset, um, which is very sad. But of course, you have your further plans, and it's gonna be good for you as well. Now we will jump a little bit to talk about Off Pitch by Jules, so your podcast episode. So one of the recent ones was with Siva and Dania.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more, why did you start a podcast, or what is the message that you really want to transfer to people through your podcast?
Well, I think I did 2 podcasts, one with Siva and Dania, and the other one with Silver and Tigo. And I knew them since the under 13s when they were 12, 11, just 12. And now they are 19, 18, 19. Wow. And I've been there all along with them. And I think their process, I'm a part of their process and what they experienced with highs and lows. And it was really, really difficult for them. They did trials everywhere. Silver did some trials, and then he didn't go through, but after that he did go through, and he went to FC Groningen, and then he had to move to FC Groningen, and he had I wanted to capture stories, their stories, because like I said, players or parents are really open with me, and of course they are anonymous, but I wanted to, the people who wanted to tell the stories, I wanted to translate them into a podcast. Nice. That's why I did it. And during COVID, they also said to me, like, oh, you have to do something with it. Those kids, they were like 15 back then. So I also started before a YouTube channel, and I was vlogging and, well, try interview people, but...
Where you also interviewed Myron, Boadu, right?
Yeah.
And we will get to the point how you got there, but
I will tell you later. But then I really enjoyed it, but it was COVID, so it was more difficult to do that. But I think I did like 5 videos on YouTube, and but podcast was easier to do, so that's why I started it again. I stopped it for a while because, well, I had enough of football, but I want to start it again because I really like to capture stories, their stories. And I think what Siva and Dania told me, or what Silver and Tigo told me, I think people don't know that enough. They know it, I think they think about it maybe, but they don't know it. And they were so open, and so sometimes I'm sitting there like, okay, I'll get sort of emotional what they're telling me, and I think people need to hear that, because when you see pro league players like the big stars, I think people forget that they're human.
Definitely.
And that's what I want. I want more humanity in football.
Definitely. And you will drive that change with transferring that message to your podcast. I'm 100% sure. And then, of course, you said you were doing YouTube videos before, and then I saw your interview with Myron Boadu, which is a very big player as well. How did you get to interview Myron? I think it can be a funny story to tell. How actually did you get? Did you know him already since the youth?
No, I didn't know him at all. But I think when I did the under 17, the trainer knew him from AZ.
Yeah, okay.
And he invited him to come and tell something to the players about his experience. So he went to Buitenveldert, and I was there as well. I didn't talk to him that much back at then. And then after he had, I think 2 years later or something, he had an interview at Buitenveldert for voetbalzone
Okay. Yeah.
back then. And he said very hi, and I didn't recognize him. So I was like, hi, I don't know who you are, but you're very happy to see me. And like, how are you? And like, oh, good, good, but I have to go, so
Yeah.
bye. So later on, I was like, okay, I think it was Myron Boadu, but I didn't recognize him. So then we started to follow each other on Instagram, and well, I didn't talk to him that much. But when then COVID started, and I decided with this player to start the YouTube channel, and it was really my very first video. So I sent it my DM like, "Can I interview you?" And he said, "Yes, of course."
Wow.
So that's how he said yes.
Wow. You just had the courage. You sent it, and it happened, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the previous experience that he was also available at SC Buitenveldert, but at least it came from your side.
Yeah,
It's
and he was. It was a really nice interview. I think everything what I wanted to capture in that moment happened. Well, first of all, I did something stupid. I said the wrong day, and then I said, "Oh no, I'm sorry, it's tomorrow." And he was like, "Oh no, fine, it's fine. We'll do it tomorrow." And then we did it an interview on the streets in Amsterdam Zuidoost.
yeah.
And
That's what I wanted to say. So I saw the interview and I saw a lot of kids around there. So
yeah,
I saw the vibe was nice because, of course, you had the little players playing around and they were happy to be around, let's say, the interview and also around you and around the professional player. But it was different. I thought it was nice. Like
yeah.
everybody was happy.
Yeah, but it was stupid for me again because I was like, oh, I didn't thought about the fact that he's a public figure, so everybody recognizes him, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, of course, of course they recognize you. So, but the children were very happy, and he played football with them, and he really took
Perfect.
time to talk with them, and I'm really thankfully he did that.
That's great. You made everybody's day
Yeah,
that day.
yeah.
Amazing. So now we're getting to the final part of the interview. And I would like to ask you, what are improvements that you want to see clubs doing more? Of course, in the specific point of player care officer, but what are things that clubs should really focus on going or moving forward?
I think with amateur teams, they have to educate and parents and players more about the professional football environment. I think they have to educate them at a young age. Not every club has to do it, but I think clubs with players who can play on a high level, or with players who do a lot of trials on pro elite clubs like Buitenveldert, AFC, Zeeburgia, Alphense Boys. I think they have to educate them more about what is it like to be in the football environment, and also talk about how many players actually do make it to the
Correct.
next team, to the pro league. I think they have to educate more. Um, I think, well, it's it's a big question because football, it's all about the money. Eventually, it's
Yes.
about status. It's about being, I don't know. I think that the also the big players, they some of them really showing off, like, yeah,
Yeah.
they're, I don't know, they're sort of rappers. When you go to their Instagram page, they come with cameras
100%.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and I was like, okay, it's nice, of course it's nice, and you can do whatever they want, but it's not a good signal to the youth. I don't know if the youth, do they want to play football, or do they want to have that kind of status in life, eh? And of course it's important to make money, and they have to make money in a short of time, but we have to be more realistic. And also the people who work with the clubs, you cannot say to every boy, "Oh, I will get you to that pro league. I will
Yeah.
get you there. You will definitely make it there." Sometimes they I don't know if is there an English, how do you say that in English, but naast je schoenen lopen.
Yes.
They do that at a very young age. And when we treat them like they're small kings or something, like, oh, you're the best, you're so great, you're doing this, when it stops, it's a black hole. They're coming to a black hole because football is their identity. And I think we need to stop with that. Also trainers, but also parents and everybody who is involved. Don't treat them like they're already there yet or they're something special. They're just playing football.
Yeah, so they have to be more careful with what they portray as footballers because they are big role models for the footballers of the future. Definitely understand.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with their pictures or their Instagram profile, but I don't think it's realistic for young football players. So I think it's up to us, like people who wants to do something like I did, educate parents and educate players about it.
Definitely. Amazing advice and point. So, if people want to find you, where can they find you? Of course, your name is Julie van Bennekom on LinkedIn, definitely. But how can they find you on other social media platforms?
I only use Instagram, but I don't use it that much. So.
Okay, so Instagram and LinkedIn, Julie van Bennekom, and if they have questions about...
they always can ask me questions, and I will always answer them.
Amazing. So, yes, this was the end of the interview. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for inviting me.
For the valuable knowledge as well. And that was it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.